Hello and welcome to Over the Bars League Two show, a weekly show looking into League Two, everything happening in League Two, as well as the previous match day and a bit of previewing as well. So first of all, David, how are you? And what have you made of the last match day, which I believe was match day 18? I might be wrong.
Yeah, so we've had match day 17 and 18, haven't we, since we last been on the air? We had the Saturday fixtures and Tuesday night as well. So we've had plenty of results to cover, a lot of big talking points and some really good games as well to cover. Again, this week, looking forward to diving straight into it as usual. Again, with there being two match days, plenty to discuss. So, yeah, let's get cracking.
Of course, we're going to go into both match days. We're also going to go through any of the news. There has been a big sacking in League Two as well. So we'll talk about that. Get everybody involved in the chat as well if you want to join us and talk about the latest sacking, which was Keith Curl at Oldham. But to start off with, we're actually going to start off with the sacking because that would be quite a good way to start the show, given how it's more or less taken over all the headlines this week. So Oldham Athletic have parted ways with their manager, Keith Curl, after 8 months after appointment. According to the BBC, the Latics have only won one of their last 9 games in all competition, which isn't good at all. And Tuesday's defeat away at Curl's former side, Northampton, was their 11th defeat this term, more than any other club in the league. So, David, first of all, was that the right decision for them to make? And do you reckon that maybe he should have been sacked earlier?
I think it's a bit of a tough one with Keith Curl. I've never been his biggest fan, but I think anyone who walks into Oldham job at the minute, I think they know they've got a bit of an ordeal on their hands. The ownership's a bit of a whirlwind situation. Not very difficult. Very difficult owners to work with, who apparently seem to interfere quite a bit in first team affairs, allegedly. A lot of issues behind the scenes. So yeah, I think any manager going into that job knows they've got it up against him. I think Keith Curl probably should be thankfully got as long as he did in the job, given the fortunes of some previous managers anyway. But yeah, the run of results hasn't been good enough. Surprisingly though, at the weekend they got that impressive 3-2 win at home to Port Vale. I think that was probably the biggest shock of the weekend. Really, them coming out 3-2 winners in that one. But yeah, that 3-1 defeat at Northampton on Tuesday night, writing's on the wall, I think, for Keith Curl. I think that'll have hurt him as well to lose to a former club. And obviously it's cost him his job at the end of the day as well, hasn't it?
So we'll go on to talk about those games later on. But first of all, let's quickly talk about the ownership. And I know nothing about Oldham's ownership, so I'm not necessarily going to give you my opinion. But you know a bit more about the ins and outs of that club than I do. So what have you made of their ownership and how they've been doing under Abdullah Lemzargan? Have I butchered that? Hopefully not. But what have you made of their ownership?
Where do you start really with that situation? They've gone from being a solid League One club to scrapping for their lives in League Two. I think that statement alone kind of indicates to how far they've fallen under the current regime. Obviously, managers have been coming and going left, right, and centre. I don't think they're far off double figures now for if they're not already in there for managerial changes. There was the well-publicised Paul Scholes only lasting a matter of weeks in that job. And he came out saying that the manager was interfering in first-team affairs. And there's been murmurings of it. Again, it's all speculation. But obviously there's been quite a few very similar comments made about him trying to interfere in first-team selection. Obviously, they built that brand new stand at Boundary Park that invested a lot of money into it commercially as well. A big lifeline for Oldham in terms of getting commercial revenue in. That wasn't allowed to open for a significant period of time as well. So they've got like a brand new, the best stadium in the stadium, not allowed to have fans in it. So yeah, it's been a bit of a farce really, and obviously well-documented protests earlier in the season led from the fans. They're clearly not happy at the situation. They want the owners gone. But it's a very difficult situation when you've got owners who want to stay at the club for whatever reason, but obviously the fans are set against it. So yeah, it's very much fans versus owners at the moment down at Oldham.
So do you reckon this is another reason why the fit and proper ownership test is so important in the Football League? Because we have many owners at, plenty of clubs in the Football League. I can think of teams who have actually gone under, such as Bury FC, who sadly went under due to bad ownership. But do you reckon it's another reason why the fit and proper ownership test is so important in the Football League?
Yeah, it's very important. I think when you take away the Premier League, obviously the Premier League have got the riches of the footballing world, haven't they? So they're a bit of a different entity. I know, obviously, some clubs who come out of the Premier League struggle financially because the jump up in finance from the Championship to the Premier League is ridiculous. But the EFL as a whole, there's too many dodgy owners coming into the game, or owners who probably do have the best intentions in the world, but either have no idea what they're doing or don't have the finances to back up what their plans are or to back up what they need to do to be able to sustainable at certain levels. Also, Derby are going through the ringer at the minute. So all the points deductions they've been having, it's not a great situation for them to be in. But yeah, the EFL definitely needs to do that. And obviously, with the fan-led review that's come out over the last couple of days, hopefully that's a step in the right direction. And we start to see a bit of reform in football and get the right people into these clubs. I'm a big fan of fan-owned football clubs. I know they're never going to be the most financially sound in terms of being able to invest heavily, but at least the right people got the people at the heart of the club have got the right intentions, and they're not going to try and sell the club down the river or try and asset strip it and things like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, really. But yeah, I think the EFL do need to get on top of it moving forward.
So just real quickly, here are the next manager odds according to the bookies. Selim Benacour, probably butchered his name, but he's their current under-18s manager. He is 7-4 to take over. He is also their interim manager at the moment. Michael Flynn is 12-1, and Paul Tisdale is also 12-1 too. So out of those three names, who do you think is more likely to take over as full-time manager?
I think the most likely out of the names you've mentioned there is most likely Paul Tisdale. Very well experienced, a lot of experience at Leeds. He had a long stint at Exeter. My mind went completely blank then. But yeah, very well versed at level. So yeah, I think he'll definitely be in contention. Another name that's in the betting, I think it was one of the next names on the list, is Chris Beech. Recently departed from Carlisle United. I think he's about fifth favourite with the bookies, but I think he's fresh out of a job at Carlisle. He's got links to the Northwest with his previous lengthy stay at Rochdale in various roles, so he knows the area well. He'll come up against Oldham many a time, and I think that's definitely what I think he'll be itching to get back into football management as well. So yeah, I won't be shocked to see Chris Beech if he was the one to get the job. I think anybody taking that job on has a huge task on the hands, on and off the field. So yeah, I think anyone who's walking into that job deserves a huge amount of praise, because I don't think any manager in the right mind at the minute would be wanting to take on that job at the minute, because it seems like a bit of a poison chalice, really.
And of course, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who you think will take over as the next Oldham manager? Unfortunately, the comments do not work on Twitter, so make your way over to YouTube if you want to get involved. Kevin says, hello, chaps. Hello, Kevin. We're not going to get your name on screen as it's a bit inappropriate, but we really appreciate having you there, or having you here, sorry. So let's start off with Saturday, 20th of November, match day 17. We're going to quickly go through all of the results, and then we'll go through them in more detail afterwards. Barrow 0, Crawley Town 1. Bradford City 1, Northampton Town 1. Bristol Rovers 2, Tranmere Rovers 2. Exeter City 2, Carlisle United 1. Harrogate Town 0, Salford City 2. Hartlepool United 1. Forest Green Rovers 3. Leyton Oreint 4, Sutton United 1, Mansfield Town 3, Scunthorpe United 1, Newport County 1, Swindon Town 2, Oldham Athletic 3, Port Vale 2, big result right there, Stevenage 1, Colchester 0, and Walsall 0, Rochdale 0. So I think it's only natural for us to start at the very top of the table. Hartlepool United 1, Forest Green Rovers 3. Hartlepool United did have a sending off late on in the game, that the writing was already on the wall by the time that sending off came. So what did you make of that result, and how well have Forest Green Rovers been going at the moment?
Forest Green are going really well at the moment, aren't they? They've been pretty much top of the league since day one. 17 games played, 37 points on the board, so only dropped 14 points so far. They're looking really good, and I think this is finally the year they're going to get that promotion to League One. I know Johnny, who watches the League One show and League Two show regularly, I know he's a big Forest Green fan, so I'm sure he'll be happy for me saying that. But yeah, I think you guys can start looking forward to life in League One, but I think you can look forward to a very prosperous end to the season, to put it in a better way. But yeah, that win on Saturday, 3-1 win away anywhere in the league's a good result, especially Hartlepool, who they've had a solid start back to life in the Football League. I know the departure of Dave Challoner has hit them hard. I think they've struggled for form since he left for Stockport, but regardless of that, 3-1 away from home in any league is a very good result.
And a big hello to everybody joining us in the chat. Hello to Lee Simons, Gary Jones as well. Evening, lads. 5 points separate second from 9th. What an underrated competition this league is. Really close. Yeah, I'd agree with that. David, do you reckon this is a very underrated league?
Yeah, it's always one of the tighter leagues of the EFL. I know there's only like 3 EFL leagues, but yeah, it always tends to be the most fiercely competed, especially those final couple of playoff spots. It always tends to be about 10 teams going for 2 spots, and always tends to go down to the wire. So yeah, it's a very entertaining league. One that when Rochdale got relegated into it last year, obviously the blow of relegation is tough, but yeah, from a neutral point of view as well, it's a fantastic league. Obviously, from my Dale tinted glasses, it's a league I'm really enjoying at the moment. The games are always competitive, anyway. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the season so far.
So we'll get on to more questions later on in the show, so get them coming in. We will answer all of them. But just quickly, Hartlepool United, they lost the game at home. Not a great performance at all by them. They haven't won in 4. What is going wrong there, and do you reckon they can turn it around?
So my computer just froze a little bit there, Ben. Which team are you referring to? Just make sure I'm giving you the right one.
Hartlepool United.
Yeah, I thought I didn't want to assume, but yeah, I think the issue with Hartlepool, I was saying, the manager's gone. So that's the manager that's dragged them back into the Football League. They had a really good spell under him. So I think they go into a bit of a transitional period now where they really need to start turning a corner. Obviously, very good start, but obviously it's a 46-game season. You're not going to stay in the league based on a good start. So yeah, they really need to rediscover their form. And quick, and also get to January, might need to freshen up a few new faces for the new manager, get some new faces in, get them playing the way they want to. But yeah, it's not worrying, but yeah, it's a cause of concern, the run of form following the managerial change.
So our next game, or the next game we're going to go into, is Colchester United 3, Exeter City 1. Exeter City are still second in the table, though Colchester United, who have been struggling this season, picked up a very impressive win indeed, with Jasper Chilvers and Freddie Sears all scoring for Colchester United, and Amin's goal for Exeter City was merely a consolation. So let's start off with Exeter, because they've been doing very, very well lately, putting the last results aside. So do you reckon that was a very disappointing loss for them, and what went wrong?
All you can really put it down to is possibly underestimating the opposition, but cracking result for Colchester. But that's the first time Exeter have lost in the league since August. There's been quite a few draws against teams they should be beaten as well, but they've not been losing games. And that's why they are where they are on merit. But yeah, it was a result I definitely were expecting. I don't think many people were expecting Colchester to resoundingly beat high-flying Exeter. And yeah, I think with Exeter, I think that kind of result does happen in the previous seasons. They've been in similar positions and they start throwing in weird defeats like that. So it's not an anomaly it's not a common occurrence for Exeter in that situation. But yeah, they'll bounce back. I still expect them to be in the top 3 mix. They'll definitely be top 7, but yeah, they'll need to bounce back from that one relatively quickly.
And of course, we've got to add that extra, of course, one on Saturday, 2-1. They lost last night, 3-1, or Tuesday night, sorry, 3-1 to Colchester. So the next team we're going to talk about is Swindon Town in third, and give Swindon some props because they have been doing incredibly well. They've utilised the loan market well as well, which is great to see from a Football League club. But let's talk about Saturday's game. They won away at Newport 2-1. Newport is a very difficult place to go to as well. As scored, well, he scored an own goal on the 72nd minute, and then Jack Payne scored on the 88th. But Swindon Town, though, they didn't do very well at all last year in League One. What is going well for them this season? Because everything is beginning to click into place for this team.
Yeah, I think the issues they had with the ownership, again, it seems a bit of a common theme in the FL, don't it, saying ownership issues, but they've got that resolved to a degree over the summer. Seems to be a bit more stability. And yeah, they signed well over the summer as well. So yeah, things are looking a lot better for them. They come into the season with a renowned sense of confidence, and they're a very well backside. Yeah, so I think the home form will be key for them getting out of this league this year. The county ground's always a tough place to go. I appreciate one of the games that we're talking about is an away win. But yeah, it's a very tough place to go, and I think they are looking very promising for a top 3 finish this season. Again, I think they're another team that will definitely be top 7, but yeah, top 3 is definitely within their capabilities anyway.
And of course, they beat Hartlepool 3-1. Hartlepool seem to be having a lot of 3-1s lately, but they beat Hartlepool 3-1 at home on Tuesday night. Fantastic result for them. Can you maybe see Swindon getting promoted this season, or could that be a bit too much to ask for?
No, I think promotion's well within their reach this season. I think January will be key for them as well. Obviously, getting the ownership issues sorted, get through to January, start looking at the squad a little bit more. Like I said, they signed well over the summer. They kept a lot of good players from last season that stuck around after life in League One. Yeah, get through to January, assess what you've got, where you can improve, and I think they'll definitely be promotion contenders this year. I don't think Swindon have got much to worry about at the moment.
So let's talk about Port Vale, who are in fourth at the moment, because they've had a very busy week. They lost 3-2 to Oldham Athletic, which was a huge upset given where Oldham are at the moment. And on Tuesday night, they once again had a very disappointing result from their point of view. They lost 1-0 at home to Walsall. What has gone wrong at Port Vale? Because they're still a very good team. They still have a fantastic squad and a great manager. Is this maybe just a bit of a blip for them, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Especially in this league, anyone could beat anybody. So to go on the run that they did at this stage of the season is really good. But yeah, I don't want to put it down to complacency. I don't think Darryl Clark would allow that, to be fair. He does seem quite a stern manager from the outside looking in anyway. But yeah, all I could put it down to is anybody can beat anybody in this league. The Oldham one was the bigger shock. I think Walsall are a decent size, so I wasn't expecting a Walsall win, but I'm not as shocked as the defeat that they had on Saturday either. But yeah, and they're another team that will come good. They'll definitely get a top 7 finish this season anyway as well.
So Darryl Clark, he's a fantastic manager and he's done really well this season. He's actually gotten them playing some decent football as well. How much has he impressed you? I know they've lost their last 2 games, but that doesn't take away from how well he has done with this Port Vale side so far this season.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from him. Still early doors as well. I think they're a side that will get better and better. It's still early days in the Darryl Clark era as well. He's very good. He's a very good manager. All you've got to do is look at what he did at Bristol Rovers, and you can tell how good of a manager he is. Dragging them back into the Football League, getting them promoted into League One as well, and having them challenging towards the top end of League One as well. So you can't knock Darryl Clark at all. I know things didn't end great for him at Bristol Rovers, but then yeah, I think he'll definitely get back on track with Port Vale anyway, and they'll definitely come good again.
And just real quickly, later on in the show, we will be asking you 3 questions that we normally ask every week. We'll be asking you for your villain of the week. performance of the week and game of the week. So get your answers in, and we'll be coming back to them at the end of the show. But the next team that we're going to look at is Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient are doing very well at the moment. On Saturday, they beat Sutton 4-1. Archibald scored for them on the 30th minute. Smith with a brace, and then James as well. And then again on Tuesday night, they had another decent performance on Tuesday night. And the thing about this Port Vale side is that they're incredibly consistent as well. They drew 1-1 with Scunthorpe Town, but given where they are in the league at the moment, they'll probably take that result as well, with Aaron Dryden, former Ipswich man, scoring for them on the 21st minute. So have you been impressed with Leyton Oreint so far this season? Because they have seemed to come out of nowhere and have almost climbed up the league table, haven't they?
Yeah, they took a few weeks to get going, but they're on a great run at the minute. I don't think they've lost in the league since the start of October. Quite a lot of draws, though. I think that's the only thing that's held Leyton Orient back from being top 3 contenders at the moment. They've had a lot of draws. I think they pretty much went nearly the whole month of October just drawing games in the league. So have a look at that stat now. Yeah, they lost the opening game in October away at Port Vale. Then 4 successive draws before beating Hartlepool before we moved into November. So yeah, I think if they could have nicked a couple more points in October, they'd be looking very, very well placed at the moment. But they're still high up in the table. Kenny Jackett's doing a really good job there. I think Leyton Orient last season really, really struggled adapting back to life in the Football League. But Kenny Jackett is a great manager for that club. And they'll definitely continue to improve the season goes on under Jackett anyway.
So let's talk about the middle of the table, some of the mid-table teams, because we were talking on Saturday about Rochdale, because you said that Rochdale have always struggled to keep hold of a lead. They've actually had quite a few draws as of late as well. On Saturday, the 20th of November, they actually drew 0-0 with Walsall, which might not be a bad result in hindsight. And on Tuesday, they drew 2-2 with Stevenage. So what is going on at Rochdale? Do you reckon you should be doing better, or do you reckon that this is where you deserve at this point in the season?
I'm glad I didn't talk about this game on Tuesday night or even last night. To be fair, I think today's the first day I feel a bit calmer about the result. Stevenage were dreadful, and I need to put that out there. Stevenage were really, really poor in that game. And 2 defensive errors from us let them into that game. And all you got to do is look at the stats from that game on Tuesday. We had 27 shots, 9 of those on target. So the chances were created, but yet again, we could not finish teams off. I'm not trying to say we're like a great team in terms of we should be free scoring every single week. But when you create 27 opportunities, you should be scoring more than 2 goals. We missed some really, really good chances on Tuesday night, defended poorly. We were the better team. We deserved to win the game. But at the end of the day, if you can't put the ball in the back of the net and you finish teams off and let them back into it at the other end, you're not going to win many games. And like you were saying, too many draws at the moment. It's 3 draws on the bounce. Just look at the stats now. 3 draws on the bounce. We won 2 in the league before that. And then again, just plenty of draws. So yeah, that's something that Robbie Stockdale really needs to sort out, turn those draws into wins and stop making silly mistakes every single week. It is getting frustrating to watch at the moment. But yeah, I think that's part and parcel when you've got such a young team and a young, inexperienced manager. I think it's just going to be a bit of a learning curve this season, really.
So what have you made of Robbie Stockdale? Because you are a huge Rochdale fan and you probably follow the club more than anybody. So what have you made of Robbie Stockdale as manager of Rochdale? And do you reckon that maybe a few questions might begin to be asked about his leadership?
I love Robbie Stockdale. I think he's been a bit a breath of fresh air since he's come in comparison to Brian Barry Murphy last season. Refreshingly honest. Tells it how it is in pre and post match interviews, which is always good to see. Not afraid to pull any punches with regards to any comments he makes. And yeah, that's the one side of Robbie Stockdale I really like. I think the thing that frustrates me with Stockdale is I think at times not tactically naive, but it's a bit of a hard one to really like to put a tag on it. But Tuesday night, for example, the game was crying out for a change in terms of even if it's a system or players, and he makes subs very late on in games that they were crying out from about 10 minutes earlier. Like on Tuesday night, Odo came on eventually towards the end of the game, but we needed him 10 minutes earlier. It was crying out for a player like to run at defenders. We got Danny Cashman on loan from Coventry City. I'm a big fan of Cashman. He seems to be barely getting a look in at the moment. He was making a great impact earlier on in the season, and it's become really frustrating time to see him sat on the bench every single week anyway. I think the overall consensus is everyone's willing to give Stockdale time. One thing Rochdale fans won't put away, I'm pretty certain you'd agree with this, Ben, with Ipswich. As long as you can see the players putting in the effort, I'm happy to give them as much opportunity as they need. They're a young team, they'll make mistakes, but if the day comes where the effort's not there, that's when I'll start to have an issue. But you can tell the players care. You can tell Stockdale cares. The effort's there. I think the quality will come with time, but it is difficult as a football fan to be patient. But I think that's what Rochdale fans need to be at the minute, is patient. And I think the good times will come back and we'll start to see some more positive results again soon.
So just quickly, how important is December going to be for Rochdale? Because we spoke in detail yesterday about December being a very important month for multiple League One teams. So do you reckon it's be the same for Rochdale in League Two? Do you reckon December could more or less determine where they finish come the end of the season?
I think League Two's that tight of a league. I don't think December's going to be a deciding factor in our season. Some tough games in there. So our December, we've got obviously the Exeter game. We play Exeter at home on Saturday. FA Cup weekend next week. Then we've got trips away to Hartlepool and Bristol Rovers within space of 5 days. Newport home, Carlisle away. And we finish off 2021 with a home game against Port Vale. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's definitely some winnable games in there. Some games are slightly more daunting. I think a big game for us in December is the FA Cup game with Plymouth. Financially, a huge reward of the third round awaits the winner of that. I'd love for Rochdale to be in the hat for the third round. The big boys come into it. And I think that game is as big as any of the league games in December. I know the leagues are bread and butter, but for a club like Rochdale, cup runs for us are huge. So yeah, we definitely need to start pulling out some performances and start finishing off these chances we keep creating.
So let's talk about Hartlepool United, because they've been in horrific form lately. We've already spoken about two of their games already, but since their manager, I can't pronounce his name, Challoner has left. Yeah, have I got it right? Thank you. Since Dave Challoner has left, they haven't seemed to be going well at all. Just real quickly, and this is merely speculation, but Halifax FC's manager Pete Wild has been linked as manager to the club. What do you make of all the speculations, and what have you made of Hartlepool so far, especially in the last couple of weeks?
Oh, I think with Hartlepool, they started the season really well. Caught a lot of people off guard, really. Yeah, I think it's a shame really about Challoner going. It did look like he could do something special with Hartlepool this season, potentially outside for the top 7 the way they were playing. But yeah, he decided that he wanted to be he decided the move to Stockport was too good to turn down. It's more likely to be a financial reason as opposed to a footballing reason. But yeah, Hartlepool have really struggled since he went, which is a shame, really. They do seem like a really good club, Hartlepool, but yeah, they've really struggled for wins, sliding down the table. I think it should just be quite grateful teams below them, not at that same level at the moment, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think Hartlepool will be fine, but I think now Challoner's gone, unless they get the next point right, I think that decline will slowly continue.
So the next club we're going to talk about is actually Salford, and I'm actually going to integrate this with a question asked by Dan Green on YouTube. Don't forget, you can get involved with the conversation over on YouTube. The chat function doesn't work, I'm afraid, on Twitter. So if you want to ask questions, have a chat with us, then hop over to YouTube. But Dan Green asks, Why haven't things worked out for Moneybag Salford? The managerial merry-go-rounds are daft, but they're still a good first team on paper, at least, isn't there? So why hasn't it worked out so far for Salford? Because they've been very inconsistent, haven't they?
Yeah, ironically, they have improved over the last couple of weeks. Two really good results over the last two match days. Really good win away at Harrogate at the weekend, and a decent point against Bristol Rovers under the circumstances. They had two men sent off in that game. I'm pretty certain we'll talk about that game again when it comes to our villains of the week, performance of the week. So yeah, I'll save a few more comments for that one. But under the circumstances, good point against Bristol Rovers. A point about Bristol Rovers, by the way, whilst I'm talking about that game, fantastic away support the other night. If you see that, I think it took about 3,000, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in that ballpark. The away end looks crammed to capacity at Salford the other night. So great support, especially on a Tuesday night. Bristol to Salford is a really good effort. So fair play to Bristol Rovers fans for that one. But back to Salford. Personally, I think if it wasn't for the backlash that Gary Neville got on Twitter after he sacked Richie Wellens, I think Gary Bowie would have gone weeks ago. But the backlash he got for that tweet he put out, I don't know which manager that got sacked to trigger a tweet from Gary Neville about not giving managers time. When he sacked Richie Wellens, he got a huge amount of backlash for that. And I think if it wasn't for that, Gary Bowie would have gone weeks ago. That's my personal opinion anyway.
Do you reckon it's more of a case of poor judgment from the owners? Because Gary Neville is a very high-profile figure. He's a very high-profile pundit as well. So do you reckon that's just poor judgment in regards to what they've been putting out on their social medias? And should they maybe be doing a better job in keeping an eye on what they've been saying in the public eye?
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. When you own a football club and you're making those decisions, obviously, you need to be careful what you're putting out, especially on Sky when he's doing his punditry. At the end of the day, you need to practice what you preach. So if you're going to go out on social media or go on worldwide television and make those statements, bear in mind you're making those same decisions at your own club. So if you feel like managers getting 6 months isn't enough time, you need to do that at your own club as well, unless it's something absolutely drastic that you're sacking them for, like gross misconduct and not results. Then yeah, you need to be practicing what you preach. And I think Neville is trying to do that now. I think he's kind of not being held to ransom by social media, because that'd be ludicrous to say. But I think in the back of his mind, that is definitely a factor anyway.
And let's quickly talk about Salford's last two results. On Saturday, they won 2-0 away at Harrogate Town, which was a fantastic result. And on Tuesday, they drew 1-1 with Bristol Rovers after having two sendings off. So we'll probably talk about this game in more detail later on, but their 1-1 draw at home to Bristol Rovers. How good a result was that, considering what had happened, considering the circumstances? How good was it?
I think it's a really good result. I think Bristol Rovers have started to slowly improve over recent weeks. So, yeah, when you look at the result in isolation, when you get a late goal to rescue things, when you're down to 9 men, you can only take positives from that. Obviously, two negatives are now going to be missing two key players for 3 games. So obviously, 2 straight red cards as well. So yeah, that's a big negative. 2 key players out for 3 games. But yeah, I think when you can get a point out of that situation, you can only see it as a positive.
So another team who I'd quite like to talk about is Colchester United, a team who we haven't really had the chance to talk about yet on the show. They're 19th in the league at the moment. They've been in very inconsistent form. On Tuesday, they won 3-1 at home to Exeter, and on Saturday, so the game before that, they lost to Stevenage 1-0 at home. So Colchester, they've made a lot of free signings. They've signed a lot of older players who are coming towards the end of their careers, especially the likes of Luke Chambers, who hasn't done so well yet at Colchester United. Do you reckon the recruitment has been the problem for Col U?
Yeah, they've really, like, when the COVID season were curtailed, then they were in the playoffs and got in there on the points per game. But last season they really struggled, and they've took that into this season. I think recruitment is a big issue for Colchester. I'm not sure what the issue has been with Colchester over the last few years. They went from they were in the Championship not so long ago, if I'm not mistaken. Solid League One side, now they're end up in League Two, and it's not even a guarantee their Football League status at the moment. They stayed up by about 5 or 6 points last season, so not saying they were fortunate to stay up, but they were definitely cutting it fine for staying in the league anyway. And this season, if it wasn't for that win the other night, they'd be dangerously close to the bottom of the table yet again. So yeah, I think recruitment in January is key for them to stay in the Football League, and they definitely need to start getting things right.
So how important was that win over Exeter? Because they did end Exeter's unbeaten run. It was a very good result for them, and it was 12 months since the U's were thrashed 6-1 on that sorry Tuesday night at St James's Park. So they'd also be very happy with that result indeed. But how great a result was that? Exeter flying high in the table, second in the league at the moment. A great win for Colchester, given where they are at the moment.
Oh, it's a huge win. Could be a catalyst for them to go on a good run now. They've got some tough games coming up. They've got Colchester got Newport at the weekend, and they've got their Papa John's and FA Cup ties to follow that. And then away trips to Bradford and Walsall. So it isn't easy, but they could have worse games. But yeah, I think Colchester definitely needs to try and use that result as a bit of a springboard now to better things. But I'm not really holding my breath, unfortunately, Colchester fans. I think the things might get a little bit worse before they get better. But yeah, I think you guys unfortunately will be in a relegation scrap this season for the most part.
We still have the bottom half of the table to talk about, but we're going to eventually just transition into it because Barrow, they're 20th in the league at the moment. They're not doing too well at all, to be honest. They lost on Saturday 1-0 to Crawley Town. Great result for Crawley, considering how they're doing. And they inevitably lost 2-0 away from home at Forest Green Rovers. So Mark Cooper, he's their manager. Should we maybe give Barrow a bit of slack, considering the fact that they are, in theory, still new to League Two? Or should we maybe be judging them off results and how they've been playing on the pitch?
I think with Mark Cooper, the football is never going to be easy on the eye, is it? He's not the most pragmatic of coaches. He's never going to get high-scoring thrillers. But yeah, I think the result against Forest Green, I think that was a home banker, an absolute certainty of a result. But the game at the weekend at home to Crawley is a very, very disappointing result for Barrow. And if I was a Barrow fan, I'd be very concerned at that result. Crawley are really, really poor. I think they're another side that might struggle to stay in the Football League this season. But yeah, I think that is on paper very, very poor result. I think they'll be fine in terms I think there's definitely going to be two worse sides than them, but I don't see them finishing outside the bottom six anyway. But yeah, I personally, I'm not a fan of Mark Cooper. I know he's very much Marmite in this league as well. But yeah, they definitely need to improve and quick. So they shouldn't be. They've got quite a decent side, to be fair. Yeah, so they shouldn't be down there really.
Let's also talk about the bottom two, because we've had a question coming in from Chris Saunders, and we're actually going to transition into the bottom two with this question. So keep the questions coming in. We will answer them towards the end of the show. And just a quick reminder as well, we do want your villains of the week, performance of the week, and game of the week. So get your picks in, and we'll be reading them out at the end of the show. But of course, get your questions in, comments, thoughts on your current team if we haven't gotten onto them already. But Chris Saunders asks, what's going on with Scunthorpe? They look like they're going to fall out of the Football League as things stand. I know they're a club that has seen better days, but seeing them rock bottom is crazy. So Scunthorpe, they're strange teams to talk about, really, because I typically remember them as a League One side. They were actually in the League One playoffs not so long ago, but they lost on Saturday 3-1 away to Mansfield, and they actually drew 1-1 with Leyton Oreint on Tuesday, which was a decent result with all things considered. But David, first of all, what is going wrong for Scunthorpe United and Neil Cox? What do you make of him as manager? Because he hasn't done very well so far at Scunthorpe United, and maybe questions should be being asked about his appointment.
Yeah, well, with Neil Cox, he has departed, Ben.
Has
Keith,
he?
yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Keith Hill's now in charge. So, yeah, I think with regards to Scunthorpe, I don't think they could have picked a better manager for the situation. I know Rochdale fans hold him in high regard. It didn't end the greatest of ways for him at Rochdale, and I don't think any Rochdale fan wants to see him go on and do a bad job anywhere, because at the end of the day, the guy's a club icon for us, really. So he's probably the best manager we've ever had. But yeah, they've got a great manager there to steer them out of this situation. They definitely need to get to January in touch. Keith Hill will work his magic. If there's one thing he's good at, it's being able to fix a broken toy kind of player. So there's definitely plenty of those at Scunthorpe. He'll definitely be looking to get them in a few signs in January as well. But yeah, I think Scunthorpe can get out of this. They've got the right manager there to do it. I know, again, Keith Hill, similar to Mark Cooper, is a very Marmite figure within football, especially if you ask Bolton and Tranmere fans what they think of him. But yeah, you can't argue with his CV. 2 promotions with Rochdale out of this level. Had an absolute miracle run with Tranmere last season, regardless of how that ended. And I think he was doing a decent job at Bolton when he got sacked under the circumstances. So yeah, I think Scunthorpe have the capabilities to get out of this. But they do need to back Keith Hill big time in January if they are going to be able to do that.
So Keith Hill, he has plenty of League Two experience. He's managed Rochdale, Bolton Wanderers, Tranmere, and currently Scunthorpe. How vital will that experience be, though? Because if there's any manager that they want, as you just mentioned, then it would be Keith Hill, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And when he's took over Rochdale in both his spells, the first spell, we were in a very similar situation to what Scunthorpe were. You're having to go back to about 2006 for when he first took over Rochdale 15 years ago, and that is making me feel very old. But yeah, he took over in a very similar situation, got us up the league, promotion contenders for the next couple of years after before we got into League One. Then he came back in when John Coleman was sacked from Rochdale. Again, we were perilously close to the bottom of the table, took us away from that. And he did the same with Tranmere last season. Tranmere weren't in such dire straits, but they were really struggling. Keith Hill came in again. Really good running results and turning with promotion contenders. There is a pattern there, and I'm not saying Scunthorpe are going to stay up this year, go up next year. I'm not making any statements like that, but they have got a manager there that's got a proven track record of guiding teams away from this situation.
Just real quickly before we get onto the questions, and we'll actually end the show with the performances of the week, villains of the week, and the games of the week, just to give you a bit more time to get them in. But just to end the current part of the show, let's talk about Carlisle United, 23rd in League Two at the moment. They lost 2-1 away from home to Exeter City on Saturday, a fairly inevitable result. They also got a red card, and they also lost at home 2-0 to Harrogate Town. So what is going wrong for Carlisle United? Because they've been in League Two for quite a while, really. They've always been stewards of League Two. So do you reckon Carlisle United need a change? Because Keith Millen, he aims to change the losing trend, although that's what he said during his press conferences anyway. So would you have faith in Keith Millen to just maybe turn a table for Carlisle United?
Yeah, it's still very early days for Keith Millen. I think he's been in the job about 5-6 weeks, and I think it's one of those for Millen. He needs to get. I think he's another one that needs January to come around really quick, because he's not had the chance yet to bring his own players in. At this moment in time, it's probably a case of assessing what he's got, get through to January, and make the signs he wants. There's definitely some quality in that Carlisle squad. They definitely shouldn't be bottom two with the support they've got and the infrastructure. They've got a fantastic stadium. It's on the older fashioned side, but they get big crowds. It's a really good atmosphere. If you've never been to Brunton Park, make sure you go. It's a really good away day. And they've got a really good squad as well, so they should not be anywhere near the bottom of the table.
Now let's get on to the questions. And as always, we're going to start off with the Twitter question. So if you want to send in a question on Twitter, then you can send in your tweets at @OverTheBarFB on Twitter. So get those questions in on the live chats down below or on Twitter. We're going to start off with Chris Saunders's question. We've already gone over this, Chris, but he asks, does Dave think Rochdale are on the right track? So just real quickly, Dave, do you reckon Rochdale are on the right track?
Slowly but surely. I think I said this at the very start of the season. I've said it off camera, on camera, to anybody who will listen. We need a centre defensive midfielder and a goal scorer. I think we can get them two in January. I think it'll be fine. I think we can't score to save our lives when we're creating all these chances. And if we can get an experienced central defensive midfielder in there to help out the younger players, yeah, I think that'll be a fantastic bit of business. And hopefully as well, holds Liam Kelly very early on in his spell as well. But yeah, if as long as keep hold of some of them players and bring a few new faces, I think it'll be fine.
So another question that came in on Twitter at @OverTheBarFB, if you want to send in your questions. Ben Morris has asked us, what do you guys make of the fan-led review that came out yesterday? I'll be totally honest, I'm not too up to scratch with the fan-led review. But David, I think you've read a bit more into it than I have. So what have you made of the fan-led review, and what are the points that you took away from it?
Yeah, I think overall it's positive. Whether those changes do come in remains to be seen. There's one point that when I read it, it was really baffling. Like making a really strong recommendation for alcohol to be allowed in the stands for League Two and the National League. I don't understand how that's going to benefit the football experience. Like how it's going to benefit football. Like if people can't go 90 minutes without a pint, I know people like to have a drink at the weekends and wine, but just watch the game. Obviously, if you want to drink at half time, there's bars at stadiums, but it's not really necessary in the stands. Plus, football fans can't be trusted. I know the sports allow beers in the stadium bowls, but yeah, I'm not wild about having people drinking pints in the stands in League Two anyway. That's my own personal preference. But some of the more positive points come out of that, the transfer levy suggestion where 10% of transfer fees in the Premier League would essentially be taxed, with that money being redistributed. The report did say if that was implemented in the past 5 years, it would raise approximately £160 million a season, which is an incredible amount of money which would be redistributed down the football pyramid. And I think that's a really, really good idea, and that's something that definitely should be introduced. Some of the other ones, I've got some of the proposals in front of me. So there's a golden share suggestion, which would be held by supporters that could veto certain key changes in a football club, from changing the name to selling the ground. I think that's a big one as well, especially when you get these property developers all of a sudden showing an interest in buying a football club that happens to own their own stadium. That's definitely a big one. Shadow boards made up of fans who must be consulted by clubs on key decisions. So again, making sure the fans are referenced at all opportunities. Parachute payments to be reviewed. That's a big one for me. But yeah, they're the big ones anyway. And also limits to the amount of money that owners can put in anyway.
And of course, as I just said, you can find us on Twitter at @OverTheBar. So get your questions in. We're now going to get onto the questions on the live chat. It isn't too late to send those questions in as well. Josh Lane has asked us, where do you think Bristol Rovers will finish? Thank you very much for the question, Josh. We really appreciate it. Where do you reckon Bristol Rovers will finish, David? Because Rovers have been a very inconsistent team. As far as I'm concerned, things aren't going all too well over there, despite having a very good squad. So what have you made of them, and where do you think they'll finish?
Personally, I think top 7. That's my guess anyway. I think there's too many teams above them that are better now for top 3. I think they're giving themselves a bit of a mountain to climb. I know we're not hit the halfway mark as of yet, but yeah, I think top 7 for Bristol Rovers, and then obviously playoffs is a bit of a lottery, isn't it? So yeah, we'll have to see how they get on in there.
So hopefully that answers your question, Josh. Elsewhere in the chat, I'm just going to read through it a minute. Chris Saunders says, "Hi guys, Forest Green Rovers leading the line. They strike me as a club well ran. Do you think they have squad depth to last the course, or do you think they're just a couple of injuries away from it all ending in tears?" So would you agree with what Chris has said there? And what do you make of their squad depth?
It's a decent squad. It's a very strong starting 11, but yeah, I think it's not the deepest of squads, but I think there's enough quality there. I think they could cope with a couple of players missing. If you start talking like 5 or 6 and they're going through an injury crisis, then yeah, they might struggle, but I think they've got enough to cope with a couple of players missing here and there each week.
Thank you very much for the question, Chris. Ben Morris has asked us, I don't know enough about League Two as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, but love this channel. Thank you very much. That means a lot to the both of us. Can you tell me what on earth's going on at Oldham? I know the owner is balmy, but sacking Keith Curle is insane. We went through that earlier on, but is there anything else we haven't mentioned about David? Well, we haven't really... Yeah, we haven't really spoken about their squad, so I guess I could quickly ask you this. What do you make of Oldham's squad, and is this a squad that should maybe be doing better considering?
No, I think it's a squad that's definitely lower end League Two on paper. Central back pairing's decent, but I think that's about it. When they played Rochdale a few weeks ago, they were very resolute at the back. But yeah, I think for me, they're definitely a squad that's poor on paper.
And elsewhere in the chat, again, thank you very much for sending in your questions. We will be going through most of them, so there's still time to maybe send in another question or two. Thanks, Dan. We've already gone through Salford FC. Johnny B says, best team in the league, we are Forest Green Rovers. Well, I think some would agree on that. Some might debate that, but I reckon Forest Green Rovers are doing well enough for you to say that. Chris Saunders, what is going wrong with Scunthorpe? Yeah, we've already gone through that as well. Scunthorpe have been through a very difficult patch, haven't they, Dave?
Yeah, I think they'll slowly start to turn the tide. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Keith Hill. I think he will get things right. Scunthorpe, they will be down there for most of the season, but I think the change in manager, is definitely giving themselves a fighting chance now. Stay in the league anyway. So yeah, watch this space for Scunthorpe over the next few weeks.
So Dan Green, and he's here to finish off the questions because we do have other questions due in, because we will be asking you again, and just another plug for this, as we will be getting onto it soon. We will be asking for your game of the week, performance of the week, and villains of the week. See, I've gotten this cool little graphics working. I'm a tech man. But finally, to end off the questions on this show, Dan Green has asked us best ground you've been to in League Two and the worst ground you've been to in League Two. So I'll ask you first, David, what is the best ground you've been to in League Two, apart from Rochdale, of course? And what is the worst ground you've been to in League Two?
I think only because the away day that I went on holds such fond memories is Bristol Rovers' Memorial Stadium. Loved the away day there. I think because we got a really good 2-1 win back in 2014. Is when I last went. Really good away day. We got a great result. Found some cracking bars near the ground, and it was a hot Easter Monday. So yeah, it always holds a special place in my Dale memory for that one. In terms of the worst ground I've been to, it's a bit of a toss-up, really. Harrogate is up there. Their facilities were shocking at the end when we went there on the opening day. I've been to Newport back in 2014. Wasn't very impressed with that stadium. One other stadium I think is worth mentioning for the best ground in League Two, and I think most people agree with me, is Bradford City. I'm not sure what the sponsor name of it is these days, but yeah, I think I affectionately know it as Valley Parade anyway. But yeah, that's definitely up there as well. I can see that I think it's Gary has added to that question, I think, Ben, just after Dan's. I would add on to the same line, what ground do you want to visit most in League Two? A bit of a tough one, really. I've been to quite a few in the league now. I'm quite intrigued by going to Forest Green. I think that's one that I definitely want to go to. I've never been to Port Vale, surprisingly. So that's another one that I'd like to tick off at some point. But apart from that, nothing else really stands out. And again, I've never been to Scunthorpe either. Again, I'm kind of ripping off Tiny Temper there, if you remember. The song saying never been to Scunthorpe, so apologies for my shit joke. But yeah, I think they're the ones I'd like to go to most anyway. But yeah, there's nothing else really stand out that I'd be itching to go to anyway.
So real quick, just for my picks, I've been surprisingly to quite a few League Two grounds. So my favourite, I'd probably go for Bristol Rovers. Quite controversial, but I love how traditional their stadium is. I love the away day, as you mentioned. And I don't know what it is about the stadium, but it's something about the atmosphere there, especially in the away end, where it's so compact that it just makes for an amazing atmosphere. So Bristol Rovers, the stadium is old, I get it, but again, I do love the stadium. I do have a bit of a soft spot for them. Another answer would be Exeter City. They have an amazing stand where you can stand. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but yeah, there's an amazing part of the stadium where you can stand, and that part of the stadium is absolutely amazing. Holds the atmosphere in well as well, and there are pubs either end of the ground too, so it's not too far away from a good pub where you can meet Exeter fans, your fans. So in my case, Ipswich fans. So yeah, an amazing ground as well. My least favourite ground, that is quite a tough one to be fair. So I'm not really sure who I would pick. So I'm very tempted just to kind of leave that blank. Bradford City, controversial opinion, but I think that's quite a worn down ground nowadays.
Yeah.
I've never really enjoyed visiting Bradford City. I'm not sure why. It's a lovely stadium, but I just think it's worn down. And another ground that I've never really been a fan of is I'm not really sure, to be honest. I would say Sutton United as well, but I didn't actually see a game there. I only went there for another event that wasn't to do with football. So another ground I really like is Forest Green Rovers. I went there once for a uni assignment. So just one more team for a ground for a team that I do like, if that makes any sense at all. A ground that I would like to visit, Tranmere Rovers. They have a lovely stadium. Walsall is a ground that I've always liked to visit, or I've always wanted to visit. Sorry. But apart from that, I think I've attended a lot of League Two grounds, so it's difficult to really point out which one I'd like to visit. So sorry for the verbal diarrhea there. Hopefully you agree or disagree with my answers. A lot of it was just me thinking in my head, oh, which grounds have I been to? Which grounds do I like? Which grounds don't I like? So just quickly go into the comments. Matteo Castillo, I have no question this week, but I enjoy this channel. It helps me learn English. Thank you very much. It means a lot to both of us. Gary Jones, I love this channel. Ipswich Town fan here. Get in. So I'm normally here for the League One show, but love the League Two show in addition to the Bundesliga show too. Thank you very much. That means a lot. And Ben Morris, love that bit, Ben. Tech Man, the graphics look great on this show too. Thank you very much. And Steve Timms got your Tiny Temper reference. So, yes, that is perfect. So, yeah, just to quickly finish off the show, we are going to go on to the game of the week, performance of the week, and villain of the week. So just real quickly, because I do quickly need to nip off a minute, but I will be back real soon. Quickly give us your thoughts for villain of the week, performance of the week, and game of the week. We have villains of the week on the screen right here. So just for 2 minutes, give us your picks on them.
Yeah, I've tried to go a bit out of the box with my selections. So bear with me while I'll waffle and justify my selection. So my first one for performance of the week, I'm going with Leyton Orient's 4-1 win at home to Sutton. I was really impressed with that result. Sutton have been on a really good run of form, so you can't take that away from them. But Leyton Orient really impressed me in this one and managed to get a really good result. I know I can see a few people have probably have gone with different options. I've seen Salford crop up a couple of times, but I'll talk about that in a minute in other different sections. But yeah, that's arguably my performance of the week anyway for that one. In terms of my game of the week, I've gone with Bristol Rovers 2, Tranmere 2. Looking at the stats, very, very even game. 2-2 draw was definitely a fair result in this one. But yeah, very back and forth. And yeah, I think obviously Tranmere come from 2 goals down to get the 75th minute equaliser. Really good point for them. And a good point for Bristol Rovers as well. You can't take that away from them either. Tranmere have been on decent-ish forms of late. So yeah, you can't really knock the result there. But yeah, very entertaining 2-2 draw and plenty of chances for both teams. Again, I can see a few people in the comments going with different ones. I think there was one asking about what said Rochdale for League Two. Yeah, Gary Jones, game of the week, Rochdale Stevenage. Not a chance. It was a very, very... Don't be fooled by there being 4 goals and 27 chances from Rochdale. It was a poor, poor game. So yeah, that's my performance and game of the week. My villains of the week. So I've gone for quite a few for this one. Keith Curle, the obvious one, villain of the week for his departure. 2 poor results and then the sack. So he gets a mention, but I think it's a bit cruel to kick a man while he's down and giving him the villain of the week title. But yeah, I think my other ones are Matthew Willock and Ashley Hunter at Fleetwood. Not Fleetwood. I don't know why I'm saying Fleetwood. Salford City. They're getting my choices for villain of the week anyway. But yeah, again, I can see a few people disagreeing with that in the comments. A few Oldham mentions again. I can see a couple of people mentioning Salford as well. But yeah, they're my choices this week.
And that is perfect. Thank you very much for your answers. And of course, how many have you read in the comments? Have you gotten through any of the games of the week's villains of the week and performances of the week in the comments?
Yeah, I've referenced a few, Ben. I've not like named them all, but yeah, I've referenced the ones that I saw come up as we went.
No worries. So apologies for repeating any if I do repeat any. Chris Saunders' game of the week. Salford, I'd agree with that. Terror of the week for his brace against Barrow. Yeah, maybe he could potentially be hero of the week. Tom Conlon, villain of the week. I like Tom Conlon, fantastic midfielder. He's actually one of my favourite midfielders in League Two at the moment. So a bit of a shame to see him in villain of the week, but I don't think many of the people in the comments would argue with you there. Pierre Gianni, hero of the week. Would you agree with that?
Not really, no. Still annoyed with the way he acted up against Rochdale. So yeah, he'll never get my hero of the week at any point during the season. I don't think anyway.
Lenzargen, villain of the decade. I'd agree with that. Probably wouldn't argue with that as well.
Yeah, I think Bury fans would disagree with that one with Stuart Day and Steve Dale. But yeah, I think there's a potential he could get to that level yet.
So game of the week, Rochdale, Stevenage. Dave was at it. What does he think? Yeah, what do you think? Do you reckon that could be a game of the week?
No, I think you were just getting back as I was discussing that comment. Yeah, said don't be fooled by the amount of chances, the amount of goals in that one. Dreadful game, and it's not one I'll be wanting to remember in a hurry.
And here's a cruel one, but this comment has made me laugh. Hero of the week, Keith Kerr for managing to get away from Oldham. Poor
Yeah.
Oldham, but he could potentially be a hero of the week. He is a good manager. So elsewhere in the chat, I'm just going to quickly read through them real quick. I think we've gone through most of the comments, most of the heroes of the week, villains of the week, etc. Just real quickly, Steve Timms, Matty Willock or Ashley Hunter for villain of the week candidates for both getting sent off for Salford against Bristol Rovers, whilst Brandon Thomas Asante has to be in for a shot of hero by rescuing a point. So would you agree with that? Because we both said that point was a fairly good one for Salford, didn't we?
Yeah, so it's good to see Steve's agreeing with my choices for villain of the week in Willock and Hunter. So at least I've got one person in agreement with me there. And you saw one comment that agreed with me. But yeah, I really like Brandon Thomas Asante. Really, really did come on leaps and bounds whilst at Salford. And yeah, he definitely gets a nod for Hero of the Week for getting that equaliser.
And I think that is all we have for this week's League Two show. Thank you very much for joining us in the comments as well as over on Twitter. We really appreciate it. So just real quickly, just a bit of housekeeping before we do go off the air. The League One show is on every week as well. That is every Wednesday, normally every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So if you want to talk about League One with us, probably a league that I'm a bit more adverse with, though I do really enjoy learning about League Two. It's been a real fun ride so far. Then get involved in the League One show too. The League Two show is also live every Thursday, hosted by me and, of course, David, who is the mastermind behind this show, which has been brilliant so far. So the League Two show every week as well. You can definitely tell that this is the first week I've been wrapping up a show because I'm absolutely bottling it so far.
Not at all.
But just before I do ruin the outro, and if you can save it, then please do. Over the Bar FB over on Twitter. We are also on the Fan Hub app. You can visit otbfootball.net for more. You can buy us coffee. I do love coffee, so buy us coffee at buymecoffee.ee/David Pearson. Apologies for the outro, the first outro I've ever done. So if anything, a bit of comic relief for you all in the chat. But please save this, David. Anything else that we need to add before we go off the air?
Yeah, we've got the usual stuff as well. So if you're new to Over the Bar, we've got the website. It's a centerpiece of everything we do at otbfootball.net for all the new content we get shared daily. So make sure you check us out. Got plenty of League Two content, League One content for you EFL fanatics out there. So make sure you check that out. Also, make sure you drop us a follow on Twitter at OverTheBarFB. Also, if you are watching on Twitter, if you do want to get involved with the conversation, make sure you do head over to YouTube, drop us a subscribe, like the videos, drop us some comments. We're very interactive with on the comments on YouTube, even when the shows are finished. Also, make sure you're there for the League One show and the Bundesliga show with those guys. They'll definitely be able to keep entertained as well on Monday and Thursday nights as well. That's everything for this week. Thank you again, Ben, for joining me as always with the League Two content. Thank you to everyone for a very, very busy night in the in the comments. We'll see you all again next week. And thank you very much for joining us. Good night.